Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Ballroom C. I'm Rachel Solisa, and it's an honor for me to be your MC for today's event. And we are deeply honored to be joined this morning by Her Excellency Christina Aryani, Vice Minister of Indonesian Migrant Workers Protection of the Republic of Indonesia. Mr. Leontinus Alva Edison, Deputy for Coordination of Community Economic Empowerment and Protection of Migrant Workers. Mr. Kakeru Fujiyama, First Secretary of the Embassy of Japan in Indonesia. And representatives of the Indonesian Business Council and all our esteemed VIPs in attendance. And thank you for honoring us with your presence as we commence this pivotal dialogue on Indonesia's human capital. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to begin this morning's session's IES in action under the theme Investing in People, Financing Strategies for Indonesia's Global Workforce Development. This year, Indonesia has set an ambitious target to deploy 500,000 skilled migrant workers. Reaching this target depends on how preparation, placement, and financing come together in practice. To formally open our proceeding and further provide the context for today's dialogue, please join me in welcoming the Director of Policy and Program of the Indonesian Business Council to the stage, Mr. Prayoga Wiradisuriya. The stage is yours. Let's give a round of applause.
Good morning. Very good morning. Distinguished Vice Minister for the Protections of Indonesian Migrant Worker, Ms. Christina Aryani, Bapak Sofian Jalil, CEO of Indonesian Business Council, esteemed speakers, we have Pak Leon, Pak Said, Pak Miftah, Pak Fujiyama. Welcome to the second day of Indonesian Economic Summit 2026. It has been a privilege to have you joining this particular sessions as part of the bigger Indonesia Economic Summit this year. Thank you very much, and I, on the behalf of Indonesian Business Council, welcome you all. Now, for today, my understanding of migrant workers begin with a simple reality. Job opportunities exist, and demand is really real. And Indonesia, on the other hand, has the potential to prepare its workforce to meet this demand in a more structured and deliberate way. Now, in response to this reality, several concrete signals have emerged over the past years. This includes sustained engagements among stakeholders, such as the Indonesian Business Council's convening in August 2025. Some of you were attending that event, as well as the strong commitment between Indonesia and Japan, reflected in ongoing preparations toward the Memorandum of Cooperations on Migrant Worker Placement. This has been further reinforced by two important policy development. First, in November, the government announced a target of 500,000 vocational and skills training placements, which sends a clear signal that preparations before placement matters. The quality of skills, training, certifications, and readiness directly shapes outcomes both for workers and for employers. So this followed by series of other development. In December, for example, the 8 implementation strategies to enhance migrant competitiveness were launched. Some of us were also there, giving structure to this very focus on preparations. All taken together, these initiatives reflect a more integrated policy approach, linking training, certifications, placement, and protections, all within one ecosystem. So what we are seeing as a result is a change in how migrant work is being approached. The focus of increasing on low to medium skilled occupation, has been increasing. So workers are prepared for specific roles aligned with sectoral demand and supported by clear pathways now before departure. So, however, while all these developments are encouraging, this transition has challenges, particularly in, as we all know, financing, skills training, certifications, language preparations, and pre-departure readiness all require upfront investment. Financing constraints are felt not only by workers, but also by training providers and placement companies. Vocational institutions must invest in instructors, facilities, and certification systems. Placement companies also absorb all of this early stage costs related to recruitment, training, coordination, and compliance. When financing is limited at these very stages, the entire pipeline can slow down. So today's discussion is meant to try to bring about answers to these questions. What does it take to move from training targets to actual placements? How can financing gaps be addressed along the way, and what different actors in the ecosystem can realistically contribute? Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to a focused and constructive discussion. Once again, I welcome you all and thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Prayoga Wiradusuriya, for setting the stage to share the government's priorities and how this agenda is being advanced in practice. It's my honor to invite our keynote speaker. And please join me in giving a very warm welcome to the Vice Minister of Indonesian Migrant Workers Protection of the Republic of Indonesia, Her Excellency Christina Aryani. The stage is yours.
Yes, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Pak Sofyan Jalil, happy to see you again today. Pak Leon from the Coordinating Ministry of People Empowerment, who our ministry is actually coordinating and reporting. Pak Said, of course, and Pak Miftah, ladies and gentlemen. On the behalf of the Ministry of Indonesian Migrant Worker, I would like to thank you, especially the Indonesian Business Council, who have organized today's forum for us to exchange insight and also view and idea in preparing the future of Indonesian migrant worker through support of language training and skill certification. Our ministry was established on 2024 as a regulator and operator with a special purpose, directive from the President with two main focus. The first one is to improve the quality of protection for Indonesian migrant worker before, during, and after their employment. Secondly is to improve the quality and capacity of prospective Indonesian migrant worker through vocational training and other skill upgrading program. The objectives are simple. We want to be able to place medium-high skill Indonesian migrant worker overseas, and we want to optimize the placement and give them a better opportunity to increase their welfare. In 2025, the productive age of Indonesia population will reach 183 million. The projection for 2045 will be 207 million. We are facing a demographic bonus period. On the other hand, many countries are facing the aging population phenomenon. This provides an opportunity for us as they are prone to labor shortage. Within the ministry system, on the private-to-private placement scheme, there are currently 350,000 job vacancies overseas, and only 17.5% or around 62,000 are fulfilled. It is a big gap. Indonesia managed to place almost 300,000 or 297,000 to be exact, migrant workers in 2025. These 10 countries are top destination. When you talk about the welfare of Indonesian migrant workers, the remittance, the money that they earn overseas and send back to their family, act as a driver for regional economic growth. It increases the family purchasing power, strengthening their finances, and also help to develop micro enterprises. We previously talked about the gap, the aging population, the possibility overseas. And to address this, the government has established 8 strategies to expand employment opportunity and enhance the competitiveness of our migrant worker in the global market. I will mention few points that are relevant to our discussion today. The first one is to enhance the capacity of prospective migrant worker. For this, we are currently working with various stakeholders. Now we have what is called Migrant Center. Recently, a few days ago, we launched in University Indonesia. There's about 10 universities all over Indonesia currently working with us as Indonesian Migrant Center. We have migrant classes in collaboration with local government and regional high school and vocational school who will prepare their students in order to have the possibility and preparation to work overseas. And coming soon, as you were just mentioning, the Go Global Vocational School Program, or SMK Go Global. The second is the provision of KUR PME, or Loan for Migrant Worker Placement. To date, we are currently working with 16 banks with total ceiling of more than 300 BO, where prospective migrant worker can access this loan to use for their expenses, airline ticket, medical checkup, documentation, training and certification, etc. Something for their family until they receive their paycheck. The possibility is quite numerous. All this will be launched simultaneously this coming March. The third one is creating an easy, affordable, and safe placement process. We're thinking about making or setting up guidance for cost structure that is currently applicable. Different countries have different cost structure. More G2G scheme placement in order to ensure that the prospective migrant worker get the best benefit, the protection from the government, both countries, and cap on the salary. MOU with stakeholder. These are some of the efforts that conducted to ensure this aim will met. Last year alone, I went to Turkey. There's 30,000 demand order or job order, so the prospect is very good. But the problem was about the visa. So we managed to work on the high level. Now the government of Turkey, through their representative Indonesia, will do something to ensure that the visa process will be conducted faster and smoothly. Because I really want this 30% to be fulfilled. Ladies and gentlemen, SMK Go Global. President Prabowo has given directive during cabinet meeting last October. You probably heard of it. SMK Go Global is very catchy terms. Under the guidance of Coordinating Minister of People Empowerment, our ministry is currently setting up the preparation to implement this program. The objective for this program is to prepare competent and globally certified vocational school graduates and to open access to procedural placement and comprehensive protection, and also to strengthen synergy between ministry, institution, and industry. The 500,000 participants would consist of 300,000 vocational school graduates, and 200,000 will be open for public. We have identified that there are about 37,000 vocational institutions in Indonesia, owned by private sector, by ministry, by local government, by community, etc. All combined has a training capacity of 12.1 million participants per year. But not all will be suitable to our needs. But with the right curriculum, with the right competency, they could be the source of labor supply for the global market. In 2025 alone, the number of vocational school graduates in institutions under Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education will reach 1.6 million. Again, with the right curriculum and competency, they could be the source of labor supply for the global market. When you talk about competency, you are talking about technical skill, you're talking about language, you're talking about certification, and for most countries, demanded work experience. We try to formulate the targeted placement country, along with the projection number, and this serves as a guidance for us to truly plan the program. As you are business people, there are room and potential for collaboration. And we invite all of you to see if some of this might interest you. Investment in vocational education and training, demand-driven. Industry-based quality assurance, protection and monitoring. Industry and internationally recognized dual certification. Direct placement for partner companies overseas. Development of infrastructure for the preparation of Indonesian migrant workers. Financing scheme and financial inclusion. And also social investment and empowerment of migrant origin destination. As for the outcome, we hope that the future collaboration will give result to more skilled, well-protected, and globally competitive Indonesian migrant worker. Also safe, procedural, and sustainable placement. And lastly, long-term economic impact for the migrant, their family, and their region of origin. I hope that what I present today will give you some idea, and I look forward to hear fruitful thoughts, insight, and any suggestion. I thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Please remain on stage. Please remain on stage as we will invite CEO of Indonesian Business Council, Mr. Sofian Jalil, to present token of appreciation. Look at the camera. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, and please still remain on stage. Please still remain on stage. Allow me to invite Director of Policy and Program of Indonesian Business Council, Mr. Prayogawira Surya, to come up on stage and hand over the IBC policy brief to Her Excellency Christina Aryani. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a symbolic of the submission of the latest IBC policy brief. Thank you. Now we will have a group photo with all participants. Yes, and please, Your Excellency, Mr. Sofian and Mr. Prayoga, to take a position in front of the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and look at the camera to take a picture with our distinguished guests. And to participants at the front row round table, please take a position in the front line. Okay, let's look at the camera in 3, 2, 1. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause for us today. Thank you very much, everyone. Please have a seat. Indonesia's labor mobility agenda requires sustained investment in people across the entire migration cycle, from preparation and certification to deployment and productivity abroad, as migrant workers play an increasingly important role in Indonesia's economic and social development. sustainable financing becomes essential to ensure scale, quality, and access, and particularly for workers from modest backgrounds. While government initiatives are already underway, key financing challenges remain, creating the need for multi-stakeholder participation to complement public funding and support Indonesia's long-term competitiveness and inclusive growth. In the end, sustainable labor mobility begins with sustained investment in people. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to start our panel discussion, and this session is dedicated to exploring strategic financing and policy frameworks that will empower our workforce to excel on the global stage. And it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers to come up on stage, and Mr. Leontinus Alpha Edison, Deputy for Coordination of Community Economic Empowerment and Protection of Migrant Workers, Coordinating Ministry for Community Empowerment. Please proceed to the stage. And next, we have Mr. Miftahuddin Amin, Executive Vice President and Chief People and Business Ecosystem Development of Paragon Corp. Next, Mr. Kakeru Fujiyama, First Secretary of Embassy of Japan in Indonesia. Last but not least, Mr. Saleh Alwaini, Chief Executive Officer of Binawan Group. And of course, to lead this discussion, please welcome our honorable moderator, Indonesia Country Manager at Speyside Group, Ms. Marlisa Soepeno. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, MC. Excellency Vice Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. It's a privilege for me, my name is Marlisa, to moderate this timely session. We have this four prestigious gentlemen in front of us, and I'm lucky or blessed because it's not a all-male session. I'm here as the moderator. Basically, before we start, I just would like to highlight what the Vice Minister, Excellency Christina Aryani, has mentioned, that the government has basically provided platforms and programs and has put priority of Indonesian overseas workers abroad. Some of the highlight of the 8 strategies, I also took note, capacity enhancement or capacity development, MOU, and also KUR, or the credit financing scheme. But of course, maybe these are not sufficient, or maybe this is not enough, because in order to make this more improving, it needs a collaboration. So we hope that this session, this morning session, will actually identify what are the bottlenecks of the issue of the overseas workers and how we can actually collaborate among all stakeholders to actually improve the global mobility of overseas workers, to overcome the problems, including the sustainable financing of the overseas global workers. So I'm going to actually start with Pak Said. We already have Pak Said here, and then Pak Fujiyama-san, Pak Mifta, and also Pak Leontinus, or can I call you Pak Leon, yeah? Yeah. So I'm going to start with Pak Said first. As the CEO of Binawan Group, this company has been in Indonesia for 49 years, almost 50 years. And I've heard the company, I was a former government employee, so I was a former diplomat posted in Singapore before. So I've heard Binawan a lot of times. So I also would like to understand what are the programs and how have you been going so far in sending our overseas migrant workers overseas, and what are the challenges that you face as the industry player, one of the most prominent industry players in Indonesia. Please, Pak.
Thank you very much, Bu. And good morning to everyone. Uh, yeah, so from Binawan Group, we've been around for 50 years, and throughout the 50 years, we were always in the industry of Indonesian migrant workers. We are the first, if not one of the first companies who go into the industry. So there is quite a bit of a build-up of organizational knowledge, on the industry. If you're talking about the challenge, should I just go directly into it? Yeah?
You can?
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the challenge, what we have experienced for the past 50 years, it has always been about that gap. The gap between what is required overseas and between what the prospective migrant workers have in Indonesia. And the challenge has always been about addressing that gap. That's why in Binawan Group, you would see not only the Indonesian, the P3MI, the agency, what's P3MI? The Indonesian Manpower Supply Agency, but you will see that over the years, over the decades, we ended up developing our own training center to a point where we now have our own university. And all of this was in the aim of completing that goal, bridging that gap. And when you're talking about bridging that gap, then of course there's costs involved, right? And again, that is the biggest challenge, to bring in the training, to bring in the instructors, the lecturers. That's a technical thing, but who's financing for it? We have had the experience to experiment on quite a few different schemes. Of course, the most ideal, there are varying schemes out there, but of course the most ideal scheme would be the fair and ethical recruitment practice, where in principle the employer pays. And that exists. We are working with regions, we are working with companies where they observe the ethical practice completely. So the employer completely pays for everything, including the training and parts of the education. So that's one way to address that challenge. But other models that we have developed, of course, initially, when there wasn't too much support or awareness in this program, we had to finance it. So us as the bridge, as the facilitator, we ended up having to facilitate the financing aspect of it as well. And that's not the most sustainable thing, because then the scope would be very limited to what we can afford, right? So when our government now is talking about SMK Go Global, I think this is exactly the right way. Because at the end of the day, it is for the people, it's not for the companies, it's not for the training centers, but it is for the migrant workers, and it is for the people who are looking for better jobs. It is for them. So it makes a lot of sense that the government would be, providing this kind of incentive and subsidizing the gap bridging process in the knowledge, especially. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pa. I have a follow-up question on the challenge. Of course, the skill gap or capacity gap can be actually addressed by what you're saying. You're making a Binawan Academy or maybe some trainings. But I would like to particularly address the financial sustainability, because in order to make this sustainable, then it requires financing. And I believe that there are bottlenecks or challenges, particularly maybe for Binawan, because it's a big group. It's, you can overcome like the delay in placement. How do you see, what are the bottlenecks of this financing sustainability? Is it because of the delay in placement, or is it because, I don't know, maybe the employer feels difficult to pay in advance for their workers to be sent overseas? And maybe I can also jump into the collaboration. Like you said, you're also the chairman of Abjati, the association. So I believe that many of your members also address lots of challenges and hopes and expectation also for the government. What are, if I can explore maybe 2 or 3 hope from Abjati or from the industry players to the government, what are they?
Okay. So challenges with the existing financial schemes or products that is being offered. Yes, SMK Go Global is a new thing. But KUR has always been there, KUR PMI, which is the credit for migrant workers, prospective migrant workers. The challenges with these financial products, especially as when we start involving financing institutions and banking, there comes the risk assessment. And it is very difficult to assess the risk, to quantify it, because now we're not talking about commodities, we're talking about human, especially our citizens, right? And it is in the Constitution that it is the government's duty to elevate the citizens. But then when you're going into the financing sector, then risk is always there. Risk assessment is a big thing, especially when you're talking about loans. So that has always been, I would say, the biggest barrier as to why KUR hasn't really taken off, because there's always that risk calculation that just doesn't match. And keep in mind, when you're talking about bridging that gap, when you're talking about getting Indonesian migrant workers overseas, you're involving quite a few different processes. One thing is about the preparation, which leads up to the certification. So you're talking about education and training and certification. But then the second stage of it is the actual deployment. So that's when you start getting your visa, preparing your documents, and getting your tickets. KUR, as it stands right now, it's designed more for the placement. It's designed for the deployment purpose. So it's for the visa, for the tickets, when there is very little risk involved. Because you're talking a bigger risk when you're investing in the preparation stage, right? People can go into the training and they can leave the program. Who's going to bear that risk? And it's understandable for financing institutions to be wary of that, and for us as well, if we are to finance it. So yeah, again, SM Cargo Global makes a lot of sense. But if you're talking about hopes, right, from our sector and us as the practitioner in the industry, of course, number one, the most ideal thing is if we can all start observing the ethical and fair recruitment practice, because it makes a lot of sense, and it is the right way to do things. The industry that we're in, and I hope this hasn't become controversial to say, but it behaves, if you look at the industry, the market, it behaves like any other markets, like any other supply and demand markets, right? When there is a big supply and low demand, then of course, prices are going to be really low. As in, that's what you start seeing now in unethical practices, where the migrant workers are being charged a lot, because there's too many supply. There's too many of them looking for very little jobs. And the opposite happens when there's a very massive demand but low supply, then the employer is going to pay for everything. So it behaves exactly that way. And that's what you're seeing with this whole issue surrounding this industry. But we should not see it as other markets. We should not treat it as any other commodity markets, because it's not commodity. We're talking about human. We're talking about people. And that's where you put in that government intervention, and where you start implementing that ethical and fair recruitment practices, that there are limits as to what should be borne by the workers, what have to be borne by the employers. So that's one thing. And if you're talking about hopes, of course, I guess that's more for the receiving countries, right? That's what we're hoping from them and the employers. But what we're hoping from our government, and not just the government, but also like the institutions, the stakeholders, is be more confident in investing in your people, and don't worry too much about the risks. Because at the end of the day, if there is non-performing loan and NPL, it's still you developing your own people. It's still the government, funding for the training and education of the people. That's the worst thing that can happen, right? So that's our hope. And again, what I've just said, the hopes, hopefully in a few months it's becoming a reality as our government rolls out the SM Cargo Global and the public funding as well for preparation.
Yeah, so maybe the key highlight of your points is make this as an investment, not seeing it as a cost or expenditure. Yeah, thank you, Pak Said. We are also talking about collaboration and how other stakeholders, including group companies and philanthropists, also come into the ecosystem and collaborate with various stakeholders. And we have now Pak Miftah from Paragon Group. I would like to actually understand about the program Paradaya that was launched in 2024, and it has provided multi-layer empowerment programs as well as multi-parties collaboration to eventually cut the systemic poverty cycle. The purpose is noble, but I also would like to understand how do you as a group manage to do this, and how has it been progressing since 2024? Silakan Bapak.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Marlisa. Thank you for IBC to share, to invite us, sharing about the one of initiative that Paragon has been doing, especially for the vocational programs. I have the slides. Yeah. Before I continue to explain this framework, that I want to share what Paradaya is. And sorry. Paradaya movement is a collaborative workforce empowerment initiative that bridges underserved communities with decent and sustainable employment by aligning skills development directly with real industry demand. That's the definitions of what Paradaya. And it was initially, or initiated when we discussed about how to make our social, our community becoming empowered through delivering the proper skill set. And then at that time, when we also see the BPS data, that we found that 24 million, our community, our social, our employees in Indonesia was under poverty. And out of them, even 7 million more than unemployed. And then we discussed with our partners at that time, mostly from Lembaga Zakat. We had about 13 partners at that time, and came up with this framework. What the implementation side of this framework? The first one, that we encourage our partners, which is Lembaga Zakat at that time, to get the engagement, to get the commitment with the industry, with the off-taker, that they require or they need some skill set and its employees. So without any agreement, for example, without any off-taker agreement to absorb the participants, that we cannot proceed at any kind of the vocational training. That's the art of when we encourage these programs, initially for local workforce. And the second one, we also give the fund for those who Lembaga Zakat and its partner with their demonstrating in terms of the commitment with the off-taker. And then we did it. This is back in 2024 and 2025. And maybe next slide. And this is for the first batch that we proceed. Out of 900 participants with 45 programs of vacations across, distribute across maybe more than 40 cities in Indonesia. And the result was more than 670 trainees that already being complete with their programs absorbed by industry. Some of them were self-employed. So from this batch one process or experience. Then in the batch two, we expand, to have also or to cover also for the migrant workforce. We have been working with some with one institutions, and then we also get the financial institutions to support the funding process. But the mechanism, for the first batch, we just allocate and then becoming quote unquote the investment, and that's part of our social movement. But for the second one, we engage with the financial institutions, and then this fund will be offered by for the person who wanna take the vocational training abroad, and then plan to send out becoming the migrant workforce, and then the fund itself become like of the soft loan programs. That's the process that we are encouraging now, and now we have a batch two.
Okay,
Thank
you mentioned that you also collaborate with financial institution to provide funding, but is Paragon Group also contributing financially, like providing also scheme for the trainees?
Yeah, I think we contribute, but understand that we have the limitations, right? Then through this mechanism, we are thinking to have kind of the collaborations with other industry, with other companies, to also contribute, because if this mechanism works, then the fund itself, it's a matter of time, right? Once the employees or the workers already got the job, for example, in Japan, for example, then this company or these people will do the installment, and it becomes dana abadi, becomes the what we call the endowment fund, So we can imagine, for example, 10 companies or 50 companies contribute 1 billion, for example, rupiah per year. Then we can imagine how many people can take this opportunity to take, further vocational programs and take the opportunity to go abroad for working. Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe last question for you, Pak Miftah. Now that Paragon Group and Paradaya is already in the ecosystem, how do you see? You mentioned about how companies can actually contribute to endowment fund, but maybe what are your strategic role? Can you be a mover of these companies or philanthropists in actually contributing funds so that it can assist the government and also the ecosystem in making it more sustainable for the workers? Or how do you see it?
I think this is very strategic indeed, And basically, I personally sell this concept to everybody, to each companies that we are discussing, including Pak Leon, and even the lembaga administrasi negara, adapt this concept for our decreasing the poverty in Indonesia. I discussed many times with lembaga administrasi negara, and this is kind of the document that lembaga administrasi negara take. And again, I think to become the sustainable programs for covering or for minimizing poverty, then it's very, very important to involve or to have kind of mechanism industry, not rely only for the government to participate actively in that programs. So hopefully by having these discussions, then we can discuss further with IBC and how this concept can leverage for our sustainability development for our employees in the future.
Thank you, Pak Miftah. I would now go to Fujiyama-san, because talking about labor mobility, it's not only about the origin countries, but of course, destination countries. Maybe you can share a little bit about the insights from Japanese government. Is there any G2G mechanism between Indonesia and Japan in global workforce development? And what are the, if there is any, what are the challenges so far, and how do you see these challenges can be solved?
Okay, thank you, Marlisa-san, and good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kakeru Fujiyama from Embassy of Japan. Today I talk about something from the perspective of destination country. And yeah, to answer the question, G2G scheme in Japan, we do have G2G scheme. We actually started the scheme through EPA, Economic Partnership Agreement, in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. And through the scheme, we've accepted every year 200 nurse candidates and 300 caregiver candidates through the scheme. And so they are allowed to come to Japan as candidate, and having on-the-job training, they can develop their skills and also can prepare for a national exam to become a nurse or a caregiver. But at the same time, we face various challenges. For example, the requirement is very high because at that time, we started accepting nurse candidates or caregiver candidates. At that time, we didn't accept any, especially caregivers. So that was meaningful to start the program, kind of to make a halt to the immigration policy. But at the same time, requirement very, very high. They need to pass the national exam, same exam as the Japanese. And the program is to produce highly skilled workers from the beginning. So of course the passing rate of the exam is not really high. So the program is very expensive, and cost performance is not really good, though I'm not sure it's appropriate for me to say this, but not really, cost performance is not really good. And our solution is not the exact solution, but the situation of the labor shortage gets worse and worse day by day. And owing to that situation, we created new visas for caregivers in 2017. And on the same year, we started accepting caregiver trainees through TITP, Technical Intern Training Program, as an intern. And also, in 2 years later, we created new labor mobility system, so-called SSW, Specified Skilled Workers. So now we accept caregivers from the intern level, and they can develop their skills to SSW level, which is the entry-level workers. And also they can, if they could pass the exam, they can become a certified caregivers. So now they have 10 years, and they can develop their skills step by step. So we do have the government-to-government scheme, but we rather promote P2P scheme at the moment.
Yeah, we're also talking about financial sustainability, Fujiyama-san, and I would like to also hear your opinion from the destination country's perspective, how you can actually, play a role in this, particularly for Indonesia, specified skilled workers, for example.
So, yeah, it's actually something new to me, but it must be a very interesting and important topic for both Indonesia and Japan. For Indonesians, working abroad provides better income, new skills, and long-term career opportunities for workers. In Japan as well, we can address labor shortage problem. But in most cases, the migrant workers face one major problem, which is the financing. So it's a very difficult question, but my idea is to collaborate all the players, like the government level with the bilateral cooperation. The government level can set and share the standards and criteria for the qualifications. And based on that, probably regional government level or private sector level can develop training courses that match the needs of the destination country. And also they can improve the pre-departure program. But I do understand private sectors are afraid to invest to new field. So this is where the national government or regional government levels collaboration is very important. So for example, in Japan, it's newly started. Regional government started providing funding for, especially for Japanese language trainings. And I think it's a good example. Even small amount of public funding, if used carefully, can reduce the risks and encourage the public investment. So with the collaboration of the both countries, including destination countries, probably the role of the collaboration of the governments is to create comfortable environments for private sectors to invest. And if employers invest early, they can ensure more stable, skilled, and motivated workers, and risks are shared, so everyone benefits. This is, I think, one of the models we should aim for.
Yeah, I hope this difficult question can be also food for thought for the government of Japan, because it is indeed not only the responsibility of Indonesian government, because it's always demand and supply. We have to provide a win-win solution for this, because it also overcome the labor shortage in Japan. Now, I would like to go to Pa Leontinus. Thank you, Pa. A privilege to have you here. And I understand that you have a very interesting background. You co-founded Tokopedia, so you were from the corporate sector, you were commissioners as well, and now you bring your expertise, you bring your experience into the government. And I have some questions. You also already heard what's the hope and expectation from Binawan and also from Paragon. So as an official holding the coordinating role in the coordinating Ministry of Community Empowerment, what's your experience about the on-the-ground coordination, particularly in terms of financial issue to scale up Indonesian overseas worker?
Okay, probably it will be a long explanation. So, okay, first of all, I think I agree with you. So one of the spirit that I bring is that I want to bring the DNA of technology startups into governments. And then the good thing is that when I try to do that, actually the acceptance is pretty good. Actually, they are willing to listen, and to be honest, a lot of government officials, they are happy that we can create a collaborations between bureaucrats and also persons that has a good business background. So I think also what I bring to the table. So I think first of all, I think what I'm lacking from government is that we should have a vision. So what I feel is that sometimes we are not communicating the visions clearly, both internally and externally. So this is what I'm doing right now. So we set the visions. We set the vision on how to fix end-to-end the journey of sending Indonesian migrant workers. And then we keep communicating these visions through different government bodies, but also to the public. So what we want is that we want when the government created regulations, is not only good theoretically, but it's also good and it's also applicable on the market. So that's why you will see that last year we have a lot of public discussion like this. So we invited a lot of like associations and then also the business owner itself, and another different governments body, local governments, and everybody. Like we also bring in NGOs, both local and foreign NGOs, and also the universities, and then people from the academic background. So we discuss together, and then hopefully we can create a proper regulation for that. I think that's first. And then second, now when I set the visions, when I communicate the visions, it turns out that actually all of the components are there. Actually, everything exists in Indonesia. The problem is they don't talk to each other. So we have financial institution, yes. We have bank, yes. We have fintech, yes. We even have like, there's a PIP, one of the subset of Ministry of Finance that giving loans to SMEs with a very small interest. Actually, like, but what I feel is that they don't talk to each other, both the private sectors and also the government side. Not only they don't talk to each other, so we don't have like data integration, we don't have that. And then also, because everything are kind of a silo, so it's like nobody has a proper end-to-end observations. So I think that's the second challenges. So one of my homework is that keep talking with them, keep asking them, working together. So I think that's the second challenges. And then the third, okay, financials, yeah. Okay, the problem with financials like this. So I think in Indonesia, the financial stakeholders, they are still very, very collateral heavy. So I'm not saying that we don't have a financial system. I don't say that we don't have a lending products, yeah. But what happened is that everybody keep asking about collateral. A lot of people will say that, oh no, government now has already exempt the collateral, right? So, but when you really read the regulations, actually we have two kinds of collateral: the additional collaterals, but also the primary collaterals. Usually the one that we get rid of additional collateral. The problem is everybody keep asking the primary collateral. I'm not saying that this is wrong, but for me this is financial 1.0. So Indonesia needs financial 2.0. And then I want to push, I want to bring my experience. For example, my experience when I do fundraising for Tokopedia, nobody asking me about collateral. Everybody asking me about financial performance, revenue performance, cost structures, and then the user profile, business dynamics, legal structures, and then even management team, right? So when we do fundraising, they interview our management team, the one that below me and William, and I'm not in the room, so I don't know what they're asking during the fundraising process. So I think if we can bring these ideas where the financial institution care not only about collateral, but care about the rest of the things, which is actually internationally is common practice. So we want to bring this. So hopefully, migrant workers, we know that migrant workers, they don't have collateral. But of course, we can assess a lot of things. We can assess the funnels and everything. So I think, yeah, at least these three things that we try to bring. Hopefully, we can work together, and then hopefully we can achieve this, and then hopefully step by step, we will be able to fix the end-to-end journey, but also each of the journey, if they have a problem, we need to solve it, and then we cannot solve it alone, we need to solve it together.
Okay, thank you, Pa. I'm interested with the collateral heavy, and I know that Indonesian government has been very ambitious in setting up, to send 500,000 workers overseas, and also at the same time provide platform or tools like KUR or training assistance. Now, with this financial institution being collateral heavy, how do you see the KUR coming from the government can actually reach out to all the overseas workers, particularly maybe in the remote area? We're not talking about Java, we're not talking about Sumatra, but also, you know, Sulawesi, Nusa Tenggara, Maluku. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, like this. So we don't want to create a financial problems, right? So our aim is not to create a systemic financial chaos. So of course we don't want that. So that's why I say that we have, but this is 1.0. And then the 2.0 one, I think, first of all, at least, I think having a regulations that accepting a new way of giving loans, new way of analyzing not only collateral, it will be medium to long term. But of course, short term we need a solution. Right? So I think SMK Go Global is one of the solutions because government committed to subsidize some parts of the cost structure. So cost structure is that you learn the skill, you learn the language, you take the test of the skill, you take the test of the language, but also there's a deployment component. At least government will subsidize on the skill side, will subsidize on the language side, but again, of course, we still have deployment cost structures. It's okay, we can bring in existing financial institutions so that they can help in terms of the KUR, right? the financing. So this is one of the solutions. Then I think the second is that I think we need to link and match the right financial institutions because we cannot force big banks we cannot force big banks to go to rural area and then to cover the super micro, the ultra micro, the one that really on the grassroots level. So I think that's where, when I look at the financial situation, actually I found out that actually they are a group of financial institutions. I think bank should be in the middle. So actually there are a lot of financial institutions, including fintech, that the mandate are the grassroots one. So we need to link and match the financial mandate for grassroots with the right audience. But then banking, if the mandate is not so much on grassroots, we cannot force them because it needs different skill, it needs different experiences and different framework and everything. So I think that's the short term, yeah. So we try to bring in together, we work together. And then long term, of course, I really want to push that government has a regulation so that we can assess a potential borrower without only rely on collateral. So that's my mid-term and long-term goals. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pa. And now, last question for you, Bapak. The underlying issue in Indonesia global workforce development is always sustainability, right? And you have now all the panels here from industry players, philanthropists, destination country, and also the audience. How do you perceive the collaboration of various stakeholders, or what are the hope from the government of Indonesia to actually ensure the sustainability of Indonesia global workforce?
Okay, I think first of all, government needs to listen. I think on couple of occasions, what I felt is that sometimes government has a good intention, right? So because all the responsibility and the burdens on the governments, it somehow creates extra pressure and extra burdens. So that if you look at the government, usually what I found out is that government try to become the very first party that are dragging and bringing everybody together. But what I feel is that that's not the collaboration mindset. Like, collaboration is that it's not one or two party is the one who dragging everybody, but it's like we work together because each of the party has different expertise. So I think that's the first thing. So we need to sit, we need to listen, we need to invite as many stakeholders as possible. We listen from them, and then hopefully everybody contributing to the regulations. So because everybody contributing to the regulations, so it's not one-sided solution, but it's that we come together. And then second, okay, when we talk about sustainability, for me, at least the migrant workers' journey, for me to be able to sustain, we need to treat it as a business. So for me, migrant worker protections is a headhunting business. So it's similar with me as a company. If I want to hire a C-level, or if I want to hire a mid-management level, I go to headhunter companies, and then I explain my needs, explain my qualifications, and then they are the one who try to go hunting a qualified candidate for us. So I think it's similar, right? So like countries like Japan, they have their own planning. They have like 14 industries for the, I think the 16 and 14 industries, and then each of the industries has the requirements, the qualifications, and then Japanese government already projected how many workers they demand. So it's a headhunting company, right? So let's try to help Japanese government, but we also help both sides. Right? So I think if we can make this into a business, should be sustainable. It doesn't mean that sometimes when we hear the term business, it looks like there's an evil part. They try to, they try to gain advantages, but no, it's not like that. So it's just like we create a proper business, and then each of the funnel from the beginning, from the training, workforce preparations, pre-deployment, from the financial literacy, from the financial inclusion, from the investment, from the I think all we can have both protections and also empowerment, right? And to be able to make it sustain, I think this should be a business, right? So government role is that we are the one who pave the route, and then we are the one who become I think safeguarding everything. So as long as everybody still on the track, nobody abusing the other side of the stakeholders, I think that should be okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pa. Two key highlights of your statement just now: government needs to listen and also treat this as a business, and therefore it's an investment. It's not a spending, right? Okay, now I have. Thank you very much, Pa Leon. I have give a round of applause. Thank you. I have around 10 minutes for question and answer. Okay, one from this side and one from Bapak in the middle and one from Bapak. Yeah, please mention your name and your institution. Thank you. Boleh berdiri, boleh duduk, silakan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ibu Moderator. Very good morning to you, Bapak and Ibu. And please allow me to introduce myself first. I'm Pia from the International Organization for Migration. We are the UN agency with the mandate to support stakeholders in realizing migration that will bring benefits to all parties, to all groups. I actually have at least one question for every panel if the time allows.
Okay. Please make it short.
Yeah, we actually work very closely with most of the Bapak and Ibu here. But yeah, this is our first encounter with Pak Miftah. Thank you so much for the very excellent presentation. And a part of our programmatic roles in Indonesia here is to support government, migrant workers groups, CSOs, recruitment or placement agencies like Binawan, and also the private sector to come together and create a very healthy ecosystem for the empowerment of migrant workers. Through our program, Migration, Business, and Human Rights, we are actually inviting private sector partners to come together and support these initiatives. And I just would like to explain, I just would like to ask to you, Pak Miftah, for the Paradaya program. Would it be possible for Paradaya to also support the reintegration of Indonesian migrant workers returning back to Indonesia who may need some support for their skills upgrading, but also integrating into the local labor market, actually? And also about the financing collaboration, I think it's also important to build this collaboration with the local governments who actually administer this local vocational schools or even training centers. And then to Pa Said, hello Pa, it's nice to meet you. And thank you so much for the collaboration in the past few years in advancing ethical and fair recruitment within the company that you're leading, but also the association that you're leading. I just would like to know and probably share with the colleagues here what has been the attempt of your company in doing the due diligence for your partners, like business partners. It could also be the recruitment agencies or the placement agencies in country of destination, but also potential employers. As you mentioned that you have embedded these principles or practices into your company's management system. And to Fujiyama-san, Ohio once again, thank you also for highlighting the overview of the program that the government of Japan has right now. I am aware that in 2027, we will be entering the new format of the TITP program, which is the Employment Skills Development Program. I would like to ask if you could share some tips for Indonesia especially to support its ESD, potential ESD workers to graduate or stepping up to SSW status, because the idea of having ESD and then SSW is to have this multi-level trajectory for skills development of the workers. So we would like to see more later if there are more Indonesians working under the ESD platform to then level up to SSW and then to gain this certification from the government of Japan, which then would really manifest the real skills development for the workers and empowerment of their skills. And to Pak Leon, hello Pak Leon, I just would like to ask about, I think it's important then for the government to put forward these referral mechanisms of services, both for the potential migrant workers and also the migrant workers themselves throughout the migration cycle, right? As you have rightly put it out. And I do agree that we have to bring in more stakeholders to actually be involved in these multiple stages. Because in our context, a lot of the potential migrant workers are actually forcibly wanting to go overseas because of economic hardships or family situation, but then they did not get the right access to these services. So I do want to second your statement earlier, and probably highlighting the difference with the headhunting business, because usually for those professionals, their placement process are being covered by the employers, but not the case for most of our Indonesian migrant workers who are still bearing most of the placement costs. So I think the financial access, it's something that we really need to crack the puzzle of. Yeah, thank you so much. Terima kasih, Ibu.
Okay, thank you. Bapak, silakan. Maybe only one question ya, Pak. Mindful of the time, sorry.
Okay, please introduce. My name is Filius. I am from the Aspataki, one of the recruitment agency associations. Maybe I will ask to Mr. Leontinus and Mr. Fujiyama especially. The same thoughts with our colleagues from Pasait already represents us from the recruitment agency. Maybe concerning with the SMK Go Globals, I think this program can address for training costs. But the challenge remains, particularly related to regulatory issues and practice in the destination countries, including employers who are not yet able to fully apply fair and ethical recruitment, just now mentioned by Ms. Pia about the recruitment costs. The core PME programs is a potential solutions. However, strict requirements from banks, prudential concerns, and limited institutional readiness remain obstacles. In some cases, banks still impose additional requirements for the PTGME or the institution, but actually we are not directly connected with the loan. They ask PTGME to find a collection to be a partners. If we cannot supply or introduce the collection in the destination country, the credits cannot be give to the workers. And I think it needs to make a reform and the technical design and delivery system of core for migrant workers. And regarding in Japan, we want to welcome insights from Mr. Fujiyama, especially ahead of the 2027, as mentioned by Ms. Pia, Isuke Zero programs. Fair recruitment requires compliance with official procedures and respect for sending consular regulations. As we know that in Indonesia, for the internist programs is conducted by sending organizations. But for the specified skilled workers programs, is conducted by PTGME, almost through by recruitment agencies, licensed recruitment agency. We see that many employers or users, they prefer to direct hiring, not through the PTGME, always said that licensed recruitment agency. We seek views of how outreach, cooperations, and policy strengthening can ensure employers better understanding about Indonesia regulations, so the SSW programs can proceed through proper migration channels via licensed recruitment agency from Indonesia. Given that SMK Go Global accounts for 200,000 participants, around 40% is for targeting to Japan. So we want to ensure that migration process are effective and the key bottlenecks are addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak. Next.
Good morning. My name is Alfredo from the Secretariat Cabinet of Republic Indonesia. Cabinet Secretariat of Republic of Indonesia is the body that carry out the function of cabinet management. So what we do is doing cabinet management based on two foundation. First is the president direction, and the second is government work plan, or we can say RBJMN. So in this forum, I think I would like to say appreciation for Pak Leon, because what he do is very excellent in the bottlenecking of issue pekerja migran Indonesia, and he focus on integrating of all resource that we have, and he also focus on the bigger picture. I think what we have to do next is do something more. So I think this in this forum I think I want to tell the, every private sector and government we can collaborate because we have a strong momentum, and in this next couple years we have bonus demography, I think, and we have to have efficient strategy. So the silo and the obstacle we have to tackle together.
Okay. You have no question.
No, I have no question, but appreciation for Pak Leon.
Thank you. Terima kasih. Thank you very much. I think I'll give the floor to all the panelists, maybe starting from Pak Miftah, about the integration, reintegration, because that's also very important, Pak. When the migrant workers coming to Indonesia, they enter into local labor force, they don't have any skill. Are you going to be part of that too?
Yeah, I think that's the interesting or the good questions, Mbak. I think we don't have any further preparations on that questions, but first thing first, I think through Paradaya movement programs, we got a lot of insights on how to make it the collaborations among stakeholders, starting from the governments, starting from the private sectors, and also from the institutions, the vocational programs, institutions. For example, on the migrant workforce training program, for example, then we are exercising right now. But the challenge is about the readiness of the workforce itself, you know. It's not only about the technicality, the technical skills. Technical skills one thing, but the other thing is about the culture, the character of the employees. We talk about one of our partner, and he said that it's very tough having the participants qualified or ready for, you know, working abroad because of the maybe the language is one thing, and the other soft skills that they have to improve, you know. That's one. Is our homework. And I believe if they someday, you know, back in Indonesia, as long as they have the skill, and I believe Indonesia is, you know, still in the needs to get the skill workers, like the welders, for example, and other skill based employees. And the other one is, you know, having the Paradaya framework, that we also get the insight on how to improve our balai latihan kerja, you know, in each area, in each provinsi, in each kabupaten. And I send the message clearly to lembaga administrasi negara, but that balai latihan kerja require to, you know, to attach or to link with industry needs workers surrounding the area. So first thing first, I just provoking, you know, if the BLK, for example, doesn't have any kind of clear plan for to supply the industrial park, for example, then, you know, maybe the government will not provide any funds, you know. So the effectiveness of the Paradaya framework is in there. And I also discuss with Apindo Banten. And then later when we share about the Paradaya schema framework, then we also engage with the governor of Banten, and they agree. Then right now, with Paragon and other, you know, companies through Apindo, we are still exercising on how to address this for our qualified workers.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
maybe this can be also something that food for thought, yeah, Pak, for the future. Pak Said, about the due diligence in the destination countries for the employers.
Sure. When you say due diligence, it's as if I have like a long list and, you know, tick them off when I speak to my potential clients. I don't. But we do ask them questions. And once you get into the habit, once you start dealing with clients who are ethical in their recruitment practices, then it just kind of becomes a mindset. And when another client doing it unethically, then all the red flags just come up. You know, you're asking me for money? You want money from the workers? So everything just stopped making sense. Once you start doing it ethically with an ethical client, then when it's not ethical, it just pops up, you know. And again, it's not only about the finances, but how they treat the workers there and everything. And this comes up naturally in the negotiation and the contracting process. And you can see it clearly in all the contracts that they have, because as required by our government, we need to see the employment contract beforehand, right, the draft. And we need to see all of that, and it's all there. You can just see it from there. That is, I guess, the essence of all, you know, all the complicated processes that our government put in place in terms of administration on getting Indonesian migrant workers. If you actually have a read, it's all there. It's not just about the benefits for the workers, but the intangible benefits that's provided for them. But I mean, the easiest thing to spot is the seal. If they have an ethical recruiter seal, it's from, I mean, IOM has it, you know, you have IRIS, But you have also from the NHS, the ethical recruiters list. You have GLAA for the UK, for the agriculture. If for Japan, you have the Fair and Ethical Recruitment Initiative from JP Mirai. So there's a long list of that, and many companies already have that seal, so you just have to work with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pak. Pak Fujiyama-san, about the 2027 ESD and how our specified skilled workers can step up.
Yes, so I got two questions regarding the new system.
Yes, and also new system, yeah.
2027, which is called Employment Skill Development, which is called ESD. ESD, yes. And to answer the question, how to, the tip to steadily develop the skills of the migrant workers from ESD to SSWay and furthermore. In looking at our experience, TITP, Technical Intern Training Program to SSWay, I think there is no problem if migrant workers focus on trainings, intern programs for TITP, become SSW. So, but after that, we have probably less experience, not enough experience at the moment. So, but usually for highly skilled workers, we have requested bachelor degree or 10 years work experience for highly skilled workers. So if migrant workers come to Japan with TITP or new ESD and transfer to SSW, it should be 10 years, up to 10 years. So I hope it should be enough to become the highly skilled migrant workers. But if there is some issues we are facing in the future, maybe our criteria we need to adjust the criteria to the problem, or maybe migrant workers might need to come back to Indonesia for a couple of years to have extra training to go back to the Japan as highly skilled workers. So we need to discuss more in the future. And to answer the second question, yes, about the license of the sending organizations. Yes, that's at the moment for TITP, they needs to be sent through SO, sending organizations. Meanwhile, for SSWay workers there, as their workers, they can go to Japan directly or maybe through PTIME. And that's the matter of Indonesian government. So I shouldn't make comments on that. But from the perspective of the Japanese government, especially under the current prime minister, we strongly request any foreigners coming to Japan to learn not only about the law and the regulations, but also about the Japanese culture before coming here. So for that, maybe migrant workers through PTIME would have the chance to learn about the cultures before departure. So I would say using PTIME would be better in terms of that. But at the same time, we need to think of if all the migrant workers have to come to Japan through PTIME, I'm worried if that works in terms of the large number of the migration workers. We need to send and accept a large number of migrant workers. So it's pros and cons, and I'm sure Indonesian government will have the right decision.
Okay, thank you, Fujiyama-san. And last, Pak Leon, about the migration cycle, financial accessibility.
Yeah, first of all, I think thank you for the compliment from Mas Alfredo. And also thank you for the pressures to do more. No, actually he's right. So I think I personally, when I reflect my 1 year journey, I'm not too happy with what I achieved and what we achieved. I think we can do more and we can do it faster. It's just, I'm also adjusting like a lot of boundaries and a lot of governance and compliance that I should pay attention to. But yeah, hopefully I want to do it faster and I want to do more. Okay, thank you, Pak, for the encouragements, and also Mbak Pia, also thank you for the encouragement. I think only one question about the financing. Okay, like this. So why the financial institutions require a lot or a complicated things for the migrant workers and also for the agency. I think the problem is when I talk to them, some of them has bad experiences related with a non-performing loan. I think it's pretty high because you give a loan in Indonesia, and then the workers go overseas and then kind of disconnected, and then not all of Indonesian bank has branches overseas. So I try to solve that. I think, again, we don't want to create financial chaos here. So that's why I understand the reasons behind financial institutions. So what we can do is that when I visited Japan last October, I met with SBI. So yeah, SoftBank is one of our investors when I was in Tokopedia. So I tried to reconnect with them. So I met with SBI Remit. Actually, if we can have a B2B, if we can bring in B2B deals from the financial institutions in overseas with the Indonesian financial institution, I think it will be one of the win-win solutions, because I think with the B2B connections, at least Indonesian financial institutions can have a proper SOP and procedures, how to disburse a loan, but how to do collections. I think collection is always one of the problems. So my personal experience, a lot of fintech has been problem is because of collections. So I think I will try to do that. So when we visited countries overseas, I will always want to meet with the financial stakeholders, both banking, remittance, insurance, and also investment, so that we can connect 4 of these functions with the function in Indonesia. So at least if you are customers of Indonesian local banks, then Indonesian local banks has partners overseas, then we can do a lot of things from collections to insurance to investment and everything. So at least we will try to help in terms of that, so that the Indonesian banks, at least they have hope that the collection won't be a problem. Yeah, but of course the long term, the mid and long term is that we need to have proper regulations. But in the short term, we will try to do whatever we can to help.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to all the panelists. It's been delightful to hear your experience, insights, and also share with the audience. And I just would like to say one thing that I think we can agree: investing in people is not a one-off effort. It requires regular and periodic efforts with all stakeholders hand in hand in this business to ensure a productive economic investment, not only for the people, but also for Indonesia long-term prosperity. With that, I conclude. Thank you very much. I give it back to the MC.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our esteemed speakers and moderator. Please to our speakers and moderator to kindly rise and take one step forward for a token of appreciation presented by the Indonesian Business Council. And we would like to invite the Director of Policy and Program of Indonesian Business Council, Mr. Prayoga Wiradisuriya, to present the token. Yes, please. The token of appreciation to our speakers and moderator. And now please take a group photo to commemorate this prestigious moment. Please take a group photo. Yes, and look at the camera. In 3, 2, 1. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, our esteemed panelists and moderator. You may return to your seat.